I love movies and I love watching movies. Every year I try to watch as much as I can. Stuff that's current, stuff that I know are classics that I should probably see as someone that's also interested in like the history of film and filmmaking. And then also just fun stuff that I stumble upon across various streaming services that I think will be fun to watch in the moment. So in 2024, I watched 119 movies, counting rewatches. Of those 119, 82 were movies I hadn't seen before, except for a few that I probably saw as a child and didn't really remember most of. I think there's like 2 or 3 on the list that are that case. So anyways, let's jump into this list where I rank every single new movie I watched in 2024. I got these stats from my Letterboxd. I went by star category, and then within the category, I ranked them with how much I liked them, like a ranking video would. So coming in at number 82 was Madame Web, which came out in 2024. Though this was a fun experience, like seeing this movie, knowing how bad it was going to be and seeing it with my best friend. It was like a so bad it's good movie, and I think that is sort of the general consensus with it. It was just like absolutely ridiculous. From the moment the first trailer dropped, all the way to its release and even afterwards, like, this movie's insane. Like, genuinely, what the fuck was going on at Sony Marvel? Like, what's going on in that division? I know it's, like, done forever now, because Kraven the Hunter apparently fucking sucked. We're never getting another Sony Marvel movie again. So, I'm really glad Madame Web was a high note, I guess. I don't know, it was like Madame Web that came out, Venom, and then Kraven the Hunter. I still didn't see Venom. I saw the end credit scene, like the last 5 minutes of the movie, and I genuinely don't know if I want to spend the time watching it. But back to Madame Web, just absolutely ridiculous, but it is going to be at the bottom of the list. Coming in at number 81 is Christmas in the Spotlight. That came out this year. It is a Hallmark Christmas movie based on the relationship of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I am not hoping, but I have a feeling there may be some sort of lawsuit incoming. Maybe. I'm not sure if they care about that. Like, I'm not sure if Travis and Taylor really care about this movie or if it even crossed their radars. But this just, like, wasn't good. I mean, most Hallmark Christmas movies are not cinematic masterpieces, except for My Southern Family Christmas starring Bruce Campbell, which I watched 2 years ago now. That was very good, only because Bruce Campbell was in it. But this one, it's just like, it's littered with like these wink wink nudge nudge references to Taylor Swift's lyrics, obviously, because they can't use any of her songs or whatever, and then just sort of like Kelce family lore, I guess. I don't know. It was just like a weird watch. It was like really weird fan fiction. You know what it's like? It's like when they took that Harry Styles fan fiction and they turned that into like 5 movies, like the after movies. It's kind of like that, but like Hallmark. So just a fine watch as I was crocheting Christmas presents for people, but definitely not something I will ever watch again in my lifetime. Coming in at number 80 is the 2009 remake of My Bloody Valentine. I watched this on Valentine's Day this year. I mean, like, not a great movie. I don't know. I find the early 2000s, those horror remakes just are never super strong because they're trying to give stuff that's already been done like a modern retelling and trying to like make things more palatable for like the teenagers of like the early 2000s versus the audience of teenagers that would have been seeing the original film when it came out. I don't know. My Bloody Valentine holds such a special place in my heart. It was filmed where I live. It has such a big place in my heart. So like a butchering of it like this, I don't totally love it. It also really takes away from like the aesthetic of like a small mining town. I believe this was shot in Canada, and it just doesn't give that mining town aesthetic. And then like Jensen Ackles is there, and it's like, I can't look at you because I can't think about the finale of Supernatural. I stopped watching Supernatural when I was a teenager, and then I watched the finale, and it's like, oh, I can never take you serious as an actor again. Same thing on The Boys. Same thing with Soldier Boy. Can't take him seriously as an actor. So this was like a fine watch. I think I was also crocheting when watching this. Probably not one I would rewatch. I think I will continue to watch my VHS of the original My Bloody Valentine on Valentine's Day instead. Coming in at number 75 is Deadpool and Wolverine. I went to see this with my dad. We've been going to see comic book movies together since they came out. And he loves Ryan Reynolds so much. He's literally my dad's man crush. So I wanted to see this to see him see it because he thinks Ryan Reynolds is very, very funny. It was all right. I don't know. I'm kind of burnt out on Marvel movies. I was really into them for a while. And then, like, after Endgame just sort of tanked my interest in them totally. I do think this was a good send-off for the Fox Marvel movies universe with the X-Men and stuff, especially that little montage at the end during the credits showing the behind-the-scenes stuff of the movies. That was nice. It's nice they sort of have closed the book on Deadpool coming into the Marvel universe, because I know a lot of people were like, oh, like the Fox merger, like I can't wait to see what they do with Deadpool, and I was gonna interact with fucking Thanos, or stuff like that. I'm glad they have put him to rest, because I think we as a society are past the need for like Deadpool fourth wall breaks in Marvel movies and just any movie in general. I'm just sort of over the concept of Deadpool. I'm a big X-Men fan, so it was nice to see Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine and wearing like the original costume. But this movie just didn't do a whole lot for me. I did really like watching my dad laugh at it though. That brought me a lot of joy. Probably not a movie I'm going to rewatch. Coming in at number 78 is Suitable Flesh from 2023. This was starring Barbara Crampton and Heather Graham. I thought this was gonna be a lot better than it actually was. I don't know. It didn't do a whole lot for me. There was a lot of, I want to say, unnecessary sex scenes. Like, I know there's a lot of controversy with that right now. I have no issue with those in movies, but I just didn't like this movie a lot, and I think I might just leave it at that. Maybe I'll rewatch it and like it a bit more, but just in the moment of watching it, just wasn't really a fan of it. Coming in at number 77 is our first short film on the list. My local drive-in does a short film screening thing every year for this arts festival, and this was one of the shorts that were in it. It was called The Voice of Sirens. It was this painted short, visually very nice, but it is low on the list because it just did not end. It just kept going on and on and on. There was no dialogue or anything. There was just sort of like, I want to say almost like baby cooing noises and like sound effects and stuff, and I was losing the plot as it went on, because it wasn't like individual frames, like it was all sort of painted like continuously, if that makes sense. Coming in at number 76 is another short I saw in that same thing called My New Theater 4 Good Night, Good Morning 06 from 2006. This is a film where a woman says good morning and good night to a camera in her house every day. Sort of like documentary style, I would guess, but same thing as The Voice of Sirens, just went on a little too long. I know it's probably supposed to be over the span of like all of 2006, so it's an interesting like look at someone's life, but it just didn't do a whole lot for me. I didn't really like it a whole lot. This one's controversial. I'm probably going to get people mad at me, but coming in at number 75 was Wicked. It didn't do anything for me, and it was really long. I don't have issues with long movies, but turning a 2.5 hour musical with intermission into essentially what is going to be 5 hours, not counting deleted scenes or extended cuts that will come out on the physical media releases, it was too long. I did not like the cinematography and the color grading. That's a big thing right now. It's just very drab looking, especially compared to The Wizard of Oz. I know John Chu has said he made it sort of like more realistic to, I guess, like separate it from the fact and like make it more realistic, but it wasn't fun to watch. I don't totally love some of the things they did to the actual like musical score, and I think I definitely prefer like the original Broadway version of the soundtrack. But yeah, it didn't do a whole lot for me. I will go watch part 2, but just I don't get the hype. I don't get the hype about it. I didn't really do anything for me. Coming in at 74 is a film I watched in a museum in Montreal when I went to an Olivia Rodrigo concert with my best friend. It was called The Vicious Undertow. It was sort of looping endlessly. So I think we came in about halfway during it and then stayed for the rest of it, and then also another full loop of it. Didn't do a whole lot for me. It was very score driven. There wasn't a lot of dialogue, but just I didn't get the context of it within the context of the museum. I feel like I'm like making myself sound stupid saying why I didn't like certain movies, but it just didn't do anything for me. Sorry to the museum in Montreal, but didn't do a whole lot for me. Moving on to our 3-star movies. Coming in at number 73 is Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. It was a mess. It was honestly a mess. It wasn't a hard watch, but that movie was essentially just 4 plot lines happening at the same time, and then they all ended, and then the movie was over. Like, nothing really intersected or like made sense. And I'm honestly not even that big of a fan of Beetlejuice. I did go on a quest though for the Beetlejuice branded Fanta this year. I did go on a quest to find as many of those as I could at my local grocery stores. I only found 3. But yeah, this movie was just, it was messy. I think it was rushed and extremely unnecessary. Coming in at 72 and 71 are 2 more shorts from that drive-in screening. Canada Vignettes, Men of the Deeps from 1978, and Wellamok, I think it's how you say it, from 2024. These were both locally made films from where I live, and they were good, but just not subject matter I'm interested in. Coming in at number 70 is a Nova Scotian film called Lakeview from writer and director Tara Thorne, who did Compulsus, which I really enjoyed a couple years ago. Didn't enjoy Lakeview as much. There were a lot of references to current media and celebrities and musicians and stuff that just really took me out of the film. 3 of the characters were named Phoebe, Lucy, and Julian, which are the members of Boy Genius, and that, once I realized it, it was just like, I couldn't get into it. I couldn't get into it. It's about a group of middle-aged women getting together, because one of the friends is getting divorced, and it's just sort of them having like a semi-reunion and stuff, and they're like lesbians, and there's a lot of like overlapping relationship stuff. I mean, it was like a fine watch, and I like seeing stuff that was shot in the province where I live, but I just didn't love Lakeview. I'm sorry. Coming in at number 69 is Living with Chucky from 2022. The filmmaker for this documentary is the daughter of the guy that designed the Chucky doll and made them for the movie and stuff, especially as they went on and he was more like animatronic and like moved on his own and was like operated by robots and stuff. So it was sort of an overview of the whole franchise, and then also ended with her and her dad talking about growing up having this sort of experience working in this film franchise. It was all right. I mean, I've only seen Child's Play. I haven't seen the rest of the Chucky franchise, but I did want to watch this documentary. Sort of spurred my interest in maybe finishing the franchise, but I have no interest really up until like Tiffany shows up. But I don't necessarily want to skip the other movies because I know that there's sort of like plot threads throughout that I should be aware of. Coming in at number 68 was Lynch/Oz from 2022. I watched this on the Criterion Channel. This is sort of a documentary, like retrospective of David Lynch's career and how everything he has done is sort of influenced by him watching The Wizard of Oz as a kid, and different like things in The Wizard of Oz that happen that are mirrored in his own projects. I watched this before me and my boyfriend finished like all of Twin Peaks, so I hadn't seen The Return, so this did spoil a couple visual moments in The Return for me, but didn't like damper my viewing experience at all. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, I think I just had this on like watching it while cooking dinner, I think, and then I finished watching it after supper. It was pretty good. I really do like when people's work is deeply inspired by others. I think specifically like Edgar Wright and like Sam Raimi and the Coen brothers, especially their early work, how Edgar Wright's filmmaking is so influenced by them. I really like watching things like this. Because I think imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and I've never done anything original in my life, and everything I've just done is my own version of someone else's work. Coming in at 67 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Shocking Truth. This was a documentary about the making of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. I put this on one of the days when I was recovering from wisdom teeth extraction, because I like documentaries about the making of movies, especially ones that I care for so deeply, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, fun watch. I think it's on Tubi. Nice little way to learn about the making of the film. I had listened to Gunnar Hansen's book, Chainsaw Confidential, so I already knew about the majority of the making of it, but still fun to watch. In the same vein, coming in at 66 is Texas Chainsaw 3D, which is the infamous Do You Think Cuz Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. It was like fine. Like I said with the My Bloody Valentine remake, it is sort of a attempt at modernizing a story that did not need modernizing. It was like a fine watch, not something I'm gonna watch again. It's another Texas Chainsaw film marked off my watch list. Coming in at 65 is Jenny Slate, Seasoned Professional from 2024. I love Jenny Slate's first stand-up film that was on Netflix, I think. Can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Stage fright.
But I really enjoyed that. But anyways, this is a lot about her having a child and like motherhood and stuff. And I am someone that is deeply afraid of motherhood and pregnancy. So just almost an uncomfortable watch for me because I just could not relate to the things she was talking about and making jokes about. And she would make jokes about things and I would be like, that's kind of fucking scary to me. I wish I had enjoyed it more, but it just wasn't the subject of humor that I can laugh at right now. Coming in at number 64 is The Wizard of Oz from 1939. I had probably watched this as a child, but I couldn't really fully remember it as an adult. I was probably very young when I first watched this. So with Wicked coming out, I was like, well, I might as well watch The Wizard of Oz and have that as a point of reference, I guess. I just have to say, I wish for 1 year we could stop making movies with digital effects and green screen and stuff and be like, okay, we're going to make movies right now like it's 1939 in terms of like effects and acting and story and like color on film and stuff. I know a lot went wrong on the set of The Wizard of Oz, and I'm not saying we should continue to do that stuff. More of the technical aspects of filming, not asbestos as snow, but just in terms of visual filmmaking. I really wish we could try and do things like The Wizard of Oz with like that Technicolor look, and there's like value and like foreground and background and just stuff like that that's nice to look at, because so many things that come out now are not nice to look at. They are drab and boring, and I really think we need to do that. Coming in at 63 is Girls Just Want to Have Fun. This was also another movie I watched after I'd gotten my wisdom teeth out and was just sort of rotting on the couch trying not to get dry socket and watching movies. This is a movie very centered around dance and a dance TV competition. It was a fun watch, like not a whole lot of substance to it, but young Sarah Jessica Parker, young Helen Hunt, just fun to watch. A fun girl movie to watch. Coming in at 62 was Cars from 2006, another movie I think I watched as a child but didn't remember as an adult. I forget what we had watched before this, but I think we were just scrolling around on Disney Plus, and my boyfriend and I were like, what if we just watched Cars right now? And like genuinely very good movie, like even to watch as an adult. And I think we need to go back to that as well. There's a lot of things we need to go back on, and making kids movies that are not just like overstimulating and like solely for children to enjoy. I think we need to make kids movies that aren't also annoying for parents to watch. I know there's probably kids that watched Cars 100 times and would become annoying to parents. I'd watch Cars again. I would watch Cars again. That was a fun thing to watch. Coming in at number 61 is The Bling Ring. This is a Sofia Coppola movie from 2013 about the Bling Ring, which was a group of teenagers that were robbing celebrities' houses. This is one I had tried to watch a couple years ago, but just couldn't get into it at the time. I don't know why I am like this. But this was like a fun movie to watch. It was made in 2013 but took place in the early 2000s, so it was just fun to look at the fashion and stuff and like the references to celebrities and things happening at the time. I really enjoyed that aspect. The soundtrack was so good. Coming in at number 60 from 2023 is Anyone But You. This was a thirst watch. I got into Glenn Powell this year. Very handsome man. Very handsome man. Wanted to watch this. It was on Crave. I think I was home alone when I watched it, and I was like, I could go for a rom-com. And this was fun to watch. No sort of groundbreaking storytelling, but it was fun, and I think it's okay to watch movies just because they're fun. Coming in at 59 is Smile from 2022. This was one I didn't get to see in theaters, but I still really wanted to watch because I was really excited for Smile 2, despite the fact I hadn't seen the first one when it was announced. And this was good. I liked the story. The acting was really good. Sosie Bacon is a great horror lead, and I would love to see her in more horror movies. Interesting story. However, I do feel like a lot of horror movies right now are just using herself as the core of every film. It's like there's this monster, and the monster makes you off yourself. And then another movie is like there's a curse, and the curse makes you off yourself. It's just a lot of movies are circled around that right now. And like, it's fine as a story point. It's not something that like triggers me in any sense. I know it can be very upsetting for some people, but I think we need to find something else. Like between this and Talk to Me, we need to find something new to scare people with. But I still really like Smile. Coming in at number 58 is Hitman. This is a Richard Linklater film that went right to Netflix, I think. I don't think it played in theaters, at least not where I live. This was a really fun watch and just like showed off Glenn Powell's acting skills and stuff. I really liked it. He's very handsome. I liked the story of the movie. I liked the costuming and stuff like that. It was fun to watch. It was a fun watch. Now, speaking of fun watches, coming in at number 57 is Trap by M. Night Shyamalan from 2024. I had never seen an M. Night Shyamalan movie before, except for Avatar, which I think I watched as a child, so like, did I really watch it? I was going on a date night with my boyfriend. I was like, I really want to go see this movie Trap. I think it's gonna be really cool. It all takes place in the span of a concert. Like, I think it's gonna be really good. Like, we should go see it. About 20 minutes into the movie, my boyfriend leaned over to me and he was like, this movie fucking sucks. And I was having a blast watching it. It was absolutely ridiculous, and it has just become such a meme between us where I am telling people that Trap was his favorite movie of 2024, and anytime I see people posting memes about Trap, I send them to him. There was one day we were sitting on the couch and he was like playing a video game or whatever, and I put Trap on the TV. And he was like, did you just put on Trap? I was like, yeah, we're gonna have like Trap Thursday or whatever day it was. And we watched again. It's just so ridiculous and good. I think there is a universe in which this movie is a lot better than I thought it would. The concept of the movie taking place at a concert, I thought it was going to be sort of almost like a one-take movie where like they walk in and the movie is the duration of the concert and sort of stays on Cooper the whole time, almost like a point of view type of thing as he's trying to do this. But I think we spend about like half the movie at the concert and then half the movie going to people's houses. And you know what? It's a fucking blast. If you haven't watched Trap, get your friends together and watch it. It is just so good and fun. Coming in at number 56 is Frankenweenie. I watched this on the day Shelley Duvall passed because I wanted to honor her, and I wanted to watch Frankenweenie because she was in that from 1984. It was on Disney Plus. Cute little movie. Cute little movie. There's such a huge difference between kids' movies before 2010 versus what they are now. I don't know. I think if I had a kid, I would be raising them on older kids movies. They seem a lot less overstimulating. But Frankenweenie was a lot of fun. That's all I have to say about that. And then coming in at 55 as the final 3-star movie of the year was Maxine. I had very high hopes for this. I had very, very high hopes for this because X and Pearl were so good, but I do think the ball was sort of dropped on Maxine, or should I say the ball was stepped on. Reference if you saw the movie. It didn't make me feel the same way I felt when I watched X and Pearl, which was like, I walked out and I was like, oh my god, that was like so good and just like very unique, and like the story was very good. I didn't really feel that way about Maxine, and I wish I did. I wish there were things that were changed about it. I didn't really like the overall conclusion of it, like sort of the whole like whodunit type aspect. I know it was more of a police thriller than like a full-on horror movie, but I don't know. I'm interested to see what Ty West does next after Maxine. I know Mia Goth said she would want to do another movie when she's older as Maxine, and I think that's something very interesting that could be in the same vein as The Substance, as like your stardom running out as you age as a female. So I'd be very excited to see that, but just overall very interested to see what Ty West does next. Moving on to 3.5 stars, coming in at 54 is I Saw the TV Glow from 2024. Didn't do anything for me. This is a story very rooted in being trans and like not coming out and stuff, and it's just not something I could totally relate to, so it didn't have the same impact on me as other people. I know this film means a lot to so many people, but it didn't do anything for me. I feel like I'm saying that about a lot of these films right now. I promise it'll change as we get higher up the list. I want to rewatch it though with sort of the perspective I have now of seeing what people say about the movie and stuff like that. I think I just need to rewatch it and it might rank higher, or I might feel differently about it, but it is my bottom 3.5 star movie right now. Coming in at 53 was Mean Girls, the musical, The Movie from 2024. I think this was the first movie I saw in theaters last year. I saw this with my best friend. We showed up on time and the movie had already started. Like, they were on to song number 2 and we got there on time. So it's like, when did you actually start the movie? Same thing, like, I don't know why movie musicals won't market themselves as musicals in their trailer and stuff, because I know a lot of people were like, I didn't know this was going to be a musical. I don't love the original Mean Girls. It doesn't have the level of humor it has for me for other people. Like, I know some people really like it. Listened to the musical a few times as a teenager, but it didn't really love it. I mean, it was like fine. It's just similar to like horror movie remakes. It just sort of is trying to modernize something that I think is very rooted in its time and doesn't really make sense nowadays. Another controversial thing was Dune. I watched Dune from 2021. Not controversial in terms of watching it. Dune just doesn't really do anything for me. Like, I watched it and I was like, that's a very well-acted movie, very visually appealing looking movie. I'm sure the story's great, but I don't care about Dune. I don't know if I'm just burnt out on science fiction as someone that like was born and then watched Star Wars and has just been consuming science fiction content for almost 24 years, but I don't really care about Dune. Coming in at number 51 is another one from that drive-in screening. It was called Wrecked a Bunch of Cars, Had a Good Time. This is about like a car smashing derby car battling thing. It was just fun to watch and just like the people in it and be like, those are real people. Coming in at number 50, another short film from that screening is called Wander to Wonder. This was a almost claymation animatic of these 3 little people that have a video camera. I think they make a TV show or something. Things go horribly wrong. I don't want to spoil it. It is worth watching. It was a lot of fun. Coming in at number 49 is Twisters from 2024. We actually had a crazy rain and windstorm when I was watching this movie. So very like 4D experience. I mean, I wasn't outside watching it. I was inside, but like it was pouring rain in the film and then also the rain was pouring in on the windows and stuff. Just a fun movie. I don't know, Glenn Powell was in it. He's handsome. Coming in at number 48 is Priscilla. I think I had COVID when I watched this. I had COVID and then I had like a week where I was healthy and then I got my wisdom teeth out and I've been on a downward spiral ever since. Priscilla was good. It is a very melancholy film, but it is a lot more rooted in loneliness, which I guess makes sense. But I'm glad it wasn't glamorizing the life she had and really shined a light on the isolation almost that she faced being married to Elvis at such a young age. Sofia Coppola film, absolutely beautiful visually, great costumes and hair and just everything. Jacob Elordi did a really good job as Elvis, and Kaylee Spaney absolutely perfect as Priscilla. She was in a lot of things last year. Coming in at number 47, this was another I had COVID watch. This was the Animal Crossing movie from 2006 that I didn't know existed. I watched the subtitled Japanese film. It was on Facebook. It wasn't streaming anywhere, but if you type in like Animal Crossing the movie watch now, someone has it uploaded to Facebook. So I watched this movie on Facebook and this was just fun to watch. Like Animal Crossing, like the music and just the whole world of it is just so like warm and fuzzy and like sunshiny. And this was just, it was so nice to watch. And it's very comforting. Coming in at number 46 is Twister from 1996. This was another one I watched when we had super really rainy and windy weather. I love these like action movies from the 90s. They're so good. Coming in at number 45 is Abigail from this year. This was a film by Radio Silence. Really enjoyed it, really fun, good cast, funny story. Wish they had kept the twist of her being Dracula's daughter out of the trailer. I think that would have been very fun to experience going in completely blind to this movie. It did have a lot of similarities in the cinematography and in the sort of overall like aura of the film as Ready or Not, which Radio Silence did. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I didn't get to see it in theaters though. I wish I had gotten to see it in theaters. I watched it at home. Definitely a fun highlight from this year for horror. Another fun highlight of horror this year was number 44, Late Night with the Devil. Controversial opinion, I don't like David Dastmalchian as an actor. When I watch things with him, like he just really takes me out of the moment. I don't know what it is about him. Like I have no beef with him because he's like very kind in the horror community and like does a lot of stuff with like Fangoria and like Dead Meat, like very caring person. I don't know why when he's in a movie like I groan and roll my eyes. This was a really good, interesting movie, except for their usage of AI for those title cards. I hate AI with a burning passion, so that definitely erred my view on it a little. There were definitely things I would change about this film. I didn't love the way it ended, but it was still really interesting and fun to watch. Coming in at number 43 is Immaculate from this year, one of the films revolving around pregnancy and horror that came out this year. Sydney Sweeney did great. However, watching this movie, I always thought it was taking place in the 70s or 80s. And then someone whips out an iPhone about 60 minutes into the movie. And I was like, sorry, what year is it? I thought we were like in a convent in Italy in the old times. I didn't know we had Instagram. Sydney Sweeney did a lot of behind the scenes work on this film in terms of like getting it made and stuff. I think she had been offered this film in 2014 and then like worked to get it funded and stuff. So I commend her on that immensely. It was a really good watch. I know some people loved it, some people hated it. I thought it was all right. Coming in at number 42 is Sting. I got a screener of this film, and it was a fun watch, like spider horror movie. Not anything super impactful or like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Like, I would say watch it, but if someone's like, oh, did you watch any good horror movies this year? Like, Sting is not going to be on that list of films I still think about or see media about after its release. Speaking of films that are talked about in media, after seeing the music video for Sabrina Carpenter's Taste, I decided to watch Death Becomes Her in October this year. I also wanted to watch it because there's a musical coming out of it. I think it's already out, but I don't know if the soundtrack is out. But yeah, this was a fun watch. I thought a lot more of the movie would be sort of the back and forth between Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep. Towards the end of it, it's mostly about them trying to live their lives, like decaying and falling apart and not aging, but like their skin peeling and stuff. Really, really fun movie. I hope they never remake it. Genuinely, do not ever remake this movie because it will never be as good as it is right now. Coming in at number 40 is Twin Peaks: The Missing Pieces. These are scenes that were cut out of Fire Walk with Me. I loved reading the Letterboxd reviews of this, of people being like, I thought this was the movie, because this is just scenes put together. Like, there's sort of no like context in between, like, okay, so this scene takes place right after this and then it's followed by this. It's like scene. It's all the deleted scenes. And the amount of people in the Letterboxd comments being like, I watched this and I thought this was Fire Walk with Me and I didn't know why people were like so enthusiastic about it because it didn't make any sense, and then I realized I was only watching the deleted scenes. I love that. But yeah, I really liked the missing scenes. There is a cut on the Internet Archive called the Blue Rose Cut, which puts all of the missing pieces back into Fire Walk with Me. I think it's about 3 hours long once they're added back in, but it is just like a very good watch to see what the film would have been had they not cut things out. Coming in at number 39 is Love Lies Bleeding. This was a pretty good watch. I liked the story, but not something I ever really thought about again after leaving the theater. I thought Katie O'Brien was great. This is the first thing I've seen her in. She was in the Twisters movie that came out this year as well. Kristen Stewart was great. The story didn't do a whole lot for me. The ending was a little odd, but it was still fun to watch. Coming in at number 38 is Spirited Away. I watched this at a local entertainment venue, like a place where like plays happen and stuff. I didn't want to call it a theater because it was not a movie theater. They just do film screenings or whatever. I watched this with my boyfriend and his friends. It was good. I'm not really like into Studio Ghibli movies. Like, I didn't watch them growing up or anything. I have like no sort of sentimental attachment to them because I know a lot of people watch them as kids and loved them growing up. It was still a really good watch, like a really good movie, really good story, absolutely stunning animation. Yeah, I would recommend it if you haven't seen it. There's a lot of Studio Ghibli movies out there. Turns out talking about 86 movies is very tiring to your vocal cords. Anyways, moving on to movie number 37 was Anatomy of a Fall from 2023. This was, I think, one of the first Best Picture nominees that I wanted to watch that like I hadn't seen, that I wanted to see before the Oscars. So I watched this on Prime because I don't think it played in theaters where I live. It was really good. I'm not one for courtroom dramas, but this was like really captivating and I just loved the pimp instrumental. I'm sorry, that was one of the best things in the movie. The story was so good. The acting was so good. This was a really good movie and I hope it continues to have a heartbeat outside of last year, or I guess 2 years ago now, that Oscar ceremony. Coming in at number 36 was another movie I watched for award season, which was May-December from 2023. Not someone who really loves biopic type things about like quote unquote like regular people. Like I know obviously the story had some sort of media coverage. I enjoyed it a lot and the acting was really good, but not something I want to watch again. Like it got a high rating now. I don't know if it would get as high of a rating if I watched it again, if that makes sense. Number 35 was The Greatest Night in Pop from 2024. This was a Netflix documentary about when they recorded We Are the World. I actually watched this twice this year. I watched it once at home, and then I enjoyed it so much that when I went over to my parents a couple months later, I was like, you guys should watch this, because my parents really like music, and they're big fans of a lot of the people that were on We Are the World. So we watched that, and like honestly I would put it on again in the background while like cooking or cleaning or something. It was really good, like a really good story. Coming in at number 34 was Casino from 1995. Me and my boyfriend watched this on our anniversary because one of his Twitch followers recommended that we watch it, and it's one of his favorite movies, so it's like, you know what we should do for our anniversary? Watch a movie that someone recommended. It was long. It was a long movie. Really good story, really good visually. We watched this and then we actually went to Vegas almost 2 months after seeing it, which was really cool because it's like, okay, where did they show in Casino? And then I don't actually think any of it was filmed in Vegas. Coming in at number 33 was Bring It On from the year 2000. My boyfriend had some friends over. We wanted to watch a movie. No one could decide what we wanted to do, so we put a movie on a wheel and we spun the wheel and it landed on mine first, and my movie was actually Talk to Me. But then my boyfriend was like, well, I don't want to watch a horror movie. So then I switched out for Bring It On because I was like, what better to make 20-year-old guys watch than a cheerleading movie? And then we spun the wheel again and it landed on Bring It On, so we watched Bring It On. It was fun. Like, it's a classic. It's a 2000s classic. Lots of fun. I know they did a slasher one recently, like Bring It On, Cheer or Die, I think. I think it was bad, but I am interested in seeing that, and then also the rest of the sequels. Coming in at number 32 is a Christmas movie, Silent Night, Deadly Night from 1984. I actually enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would, and I think it is a really good film about sort of the effects of grief and like trauma from our childhood and how that can like follow us into adulthood. I wish I had more to say about it. Like, I don't want to say educationally, but I wish I just knew more about this subject so I could like go more in depth about it. That's one of the things I want to learn how to do in 2025 is actually talk about movies more than just saying like, I liked them, they were pretty, I like the colors. So maybe someday I will talk more in depth about Silent Night, Deadly Night, because there's also a ridiculous amount of sequels for this, so we'll see. Coming in at number 31 is Godzilla Minus One. I went to Montreal with my parents and sister at the beginning of 2024 to go see Madonna in concert. And we did so much walking that on the second day of our trip, I pulled my hamstring and literally could not hobble around in the freezing cold. So me and my dad ended up spending about 2 afternoons at the movie theater, and one of the movies we went to see was Godzilla Minus One. And we both really, really enjoyed it. I had never seen a Godzilla movie before, but I think where this film was so rooted in humanity and love, it was more than just a monster movie. Like, I want to say Godzilla didn't even feel like a character in this movie. Like, it is a very driven story about like humanity and relationships and love and found family and stuff. It was so good. I want to watch the black and white version. I would highly recommend watching this. And then coming in at 30 as our top ranked 3.5 star movie was Oppenheimer. We got surround sound down in our living room, and this was the first movie we watched with the surround sound on. My dad came over, we cranked that volume up. The whole house shook when the atomic bomb went off. Really good. Not really into Christopher Nolan movies, if I do say so myself. They don't do anything for me. Like, sorry, Christopher Nolan, your movies are great, but they're not for me. But I wanted to watch this before Oscar season, and it rightfully deserved all the awards it won. Moving on to 4-star movies, coming in at number 25 is A Nonsense Christmas with Sabrina Carpenter. This was on Netflix. It was about 40 minutes. It was a fun little watch. It was a fun little Christmas watch. She was playing her Christmas EP. I had a lot of fun watching it. I loved the duet with Chappell Roan. I loved all the little skits and stuff. It was super fun. She is a very strong actress for someone who has shifted primarily now to music. Another music movie coming in in at 28 was Olivia Rodrigo Guts World Tour on Netflix. Now, having seen the concert in person in the Lower Bowl, seeing sort of more up close in this was a lot of fun, and I guess sort of like filled the gaps in my memory of maybe what I missed watching the screens versus watching the stage, or vice versa. Really fun. I love concert movies. The editing was a little all over the place, just like with the 1989 World Tour thing. It was one of the same editors. Wish that was different, but I think it kept with the pace of the film somewhat, but my god, it was a lot of cuts sometimes. Coming in at 27 is another film from the drive-in short film screening. It was called A Fermenting Woman, which is about a chef that starts using her menstrual blood to ferment things to cook for some very prestigious clients. Crazy watch. Find it if you can and watch it. It is insane. Definitely not for the squeamish folks, but my god, please go watch it if you can find it somewhere. Coming in at number 26 is, I think, the final film from that short film screening, called I Pity the Country. It's a Willie Nelson song, and it just sort of like focuses on the state of the world and stuff. Coming in at number 25 was Talk to Me. I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would, and it genuinely scared me. There's a lot of horror movies I watch, and like there's jump scares and stuff, but this is one where there were times I wanted to pause and like tap out for a bit, because I was like, this is a little too much, which doesn't happen very often. Similar to Smile, very rooted in self-mutilation, so take that if you haven't watched it yet and are going to watch it. I think they're doing a sequel to it, so I'm very interested to see what they do with that. Coming in at number 24 was The Crow. I watched this in anticipation of seeing the new remake, but I did not see it and did not go see it yet. I watched this with my dad. I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. I thought it was going to be like pretty mid, but this was like genuinely a really, really good movie. Good story, amazing visuals, amazing soundtrack. Obviously, very rooted in tragedy in the production, since Brandon Lee did die making this movie, but they did such a good job finishing it with the blessing of his loved ones, and I think it's a very important part of film history, and people should watch it. Coming in at number 23 is the 1992 Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. Thought this wasn't going to be super great because, like, obviously a lot more people talk about the TV show and stuff. From what I've seen of the TV show, I think I prefer the movie more. I don't know. It was really fun. It was a really fun movie to watch. I'm asking for a renaissance of it. We should all get really into the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. Coming in at 22 is Alien Romulus. This is one of the only Alien sequels I've ever seen. I watched the original with my dad, and then we went to go see Romulus together when it came out in theaters. Really, really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed this film. Another one of the horror films that came out this year that has subjects of pregnancy and motherhood in a weird way. Aside from like I can't remember his name, but the guy that played Bilbo Baggins in the Lord of the Rings movies, not Martin Freeman, but the original Bilbo guy. They like deep faked him into the movie, and that was the only part I didn't like, but everything else I loved, and you should definitely watch it. I don't think you technically need to see Alien to see it. I think it takes place sort of in its own thing, but yeah, highly recommend it. Coming in at number 21 is Legally Blonde. This film came out the year I was born, and I'd never seen it before, but then after seeing Longlegs and seeing a lot of people being like, the guy that made Longlegs is like Dorky David in Legally Blonde. I was like, I've never seen Legally Blonde. I've heard a lot about it, so I'm gonna watch it. And I had such a blast watching it. It is such a fun movie, and I think really exceeded what I thought it was going to be. One thing about this movie is I had no idea she was supposed to be like a ditzy dumb blonde the whole time. Like, I genuinely thought her whole character was that she had the very visual appearance of like a quote unquote like dumb blonde or like valley girl, but was actually really smart. I didn't realize she worked towards getting into law school in the movie. I thought she had already been in law school or was starting law school and, you know, looked like a certain type of girl, but was actually very smart and educated about like the criminal justice system. It's fun when movies change what you think you know about them. Coming in at number 20 is Twin Peaks: The Return. This one is with an asterisk because I really do think I need to rewatch it. Me and my boyfriend watched all of Twin Peaks this year. We consumed every piece of Twin Peaks content there is out there. The return just didn't have the same impact on me that it had on him. Mostly because he's not a binge watcher, so we would watch like one episode and then he would think about it and absolutely nothing else for like 3 days. Meanwhile, I was like, can we do 4 episodes in one night? Just because the story is very interconnected, and I do think for my own media consumption, it is something I need to watch in quick succession with the other episodes. So I definitely need to rewatch it this year. Coming in at number 19 is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I had a lot more fun with this movie than I thought I would. Obviously, if you've seen my video on the Killer Clowns game, inspired a love for the asymmetrical horror video game that came out about it this year. I thought it was just going to be a mid-horror movie, but you know what? It was actually such a blast to watch, and the story is so fun and so funny, and I cannot believe they never made sequels of it. I feel like every good original horror movie always has 6 unnecessary sequels that get worse as they go on. But this movie had no sequels. But if you like the movie, you should play the game because the game's a lot of fun. Coming in at number 18 is Smile 2 that came out this year. Didn't get to see this in theaters. I watched it at home. Enjoyed this so much more than the original. I think the pop star angle, especially with how like pop stars are treated in this day and age, such a different story and such higher stakes. Like especially at the ending, it's like, what does that entail for the future of that universe? I think they're doing a 3rd one, and I am begging them to have it pick up right where the 2nd one ends off. I don't want a new character. I want to know what happens next in that crowd of people that just saw that happen on stage. Is everyone getting the curse? Is one person getting the curse? If people were live streaming it on their phone like people do with concerts now, are the people on the phone getting cursed as well? Like, I need to know what happens next. Smile 2 was so good. Coming in at number 17 is American Psycho from 2000. I had never seen it before. This was my first time watching it. And all I can say about this movie is that it is such a quintessential American film. Don't know if that makes sense at all. It's very rooted in like American values, if that makes sense. I don't think you could have American Psycho take place anywhere except the United States. And I know it's called American Psycho, so like obviously you can't make a movie called like Canadian Psycho or Australian Psycho. Yeah, I can't believe it took me so long to watch this. It was genuinely so good. Coming in at number 16 was Challengers. This was one of my favorites of the year. The story, the soundtrack, especially the way it was shot. This movie was so good. I wish I had gotten the chance to see it in theaters. I didn't. I watched it at home. I know some people had issues with the soundtrack, but I loved it. It like kept me up to speed with the film, if that makes sense. Like it's like, yeah, you guys are just talking and there's this thumping like dubstep like clicky track thing happening, but like it kept me in the moment with the film. I loved Challengers so much. Coming in at number 15 is Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me. Literally one of the most heartbreaking movies I've ever seen. I have such a giant space in my heart for Laura Palmer, and this movie was just so laced with grief and despair because you're watching it and you're just waiting for her to die. As I could tell we were getting close to the ending, there was such a heaviness to it because you're like, these are her last days. Obviously you've seen the show before watching Fire Walk With Me, so you know what happens. So you're just seeing the downward spiral that her life is taking that leads to the events of the TV show. And it's so heavy and such an impactful film. Coming in at number 14 was Past Lives. I watched this on Prime. Enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Really good story about like the what could have been in life. I think I am a person that does really sit in thought patterns of like, well, what if I had done this instead of this? Or like, what if I didn't go to that place? What if I didn't do that? Or what if I said that? So this film just like sat really well with me. And I really enjoyed it. I want to rewatch it. Coming in at number 13 was one of the funnest movies I watched this year, which was Valley Girl from 1983, starring Deborah Foreman and Nicolas Cage. I own this movie on DVD, but it came up on Amazon Prime one night, so I was like, I'm just gonna put it on through here because I don't have a DVD player. Not a whole lot happens in this movie, but just the costumes and the soundtrack and just like Nicolas Cage just like bumbling around. I think I watched it 3 times total this year, just like to put on, because it's just so much fun to watch. It's like almost a musical in a sense. There's that many songs in it and like montages and stuff. It's so good, and I would recommend you watch it. It's a lot of fun. Coming in at number 12 is The Holdovers. I watched this movie on my laptop on a plane ride from Toronto to where I live, coming back from Montreal last January with my parents and sister after seeing Madonna. It was like a 2 a.m. flight or something, and literally everyone else on the plane was asleep except for me, and I watched this, and I wish I'd gotten to watch it over Christmas, but I just didn't have time to watch it. But it's just a very beautiful movie. It could be made in the 70s. I love that aspect, and I think we need to go back to that aspect of filmmaking, of making things that look timeless. Also, Dominic Sessa was one of the best performances of the year. Paul Giamatti was so good. Divine Joy Randolph was absolutely fantastic in it. Coming in at number 11 was I Like Movies. I watched this on the plane ride from Montreal to Toronto before heading from Toronto to home. I'd been meaning to watch this movie forever, but I just never got around to it. But then it was on the plane screen thing, so I was like, that's what I'm gonna watch. And I loved it. I am also someone that just loves movies so much. I wish I'd gotten the chance to work in a video store, but they went extinct before I was able to get into the job market. Such a good movie. Please watch it. Coming in at number 10 was my last film that I watched in 2024, which was Nosferatu. I have a full spoiler-free review on my Instagram and TikTok if you want to go watch it there. I won't give any spoilers here, but you need to go see this in the theater at least once. The performances in it are off the charts. The visuals are off the charts. Just everything about this movie is so good, and like, you need to go see it. It's not for squeamish people. It's not for squeamish people. If you're not squeamish, go see it. Coming in at number 9 was Poor Things. I saw this for the first time in Montreal in January with my dad. I really wanted to see it. It wasn't playing at home, so I was like, maybe the only chance I have to see it in theaters is in Montreal. I loved Poor Things so much. I loved the story and the visuals and the acting. It was so good. I did end up seeing it again in theaters at home, actually on my birthday this year, because it was finally playing like 2 months after it came out, and it's so good and so like original and like of its own. Coming in at number 8 is The Substance from this year. I adored The Substance. It is so unique, visually beautiful, amazing performances, like I'm saying for all of these films. But there was just something so special about this movie and like grotesque. I'm not someone who needs to like tap out of movies often, but those last 20 minutes, I was like, we need to pause this. But obviously I was seeing it in the theater. I went to see it by myself, so I couldn't be like, can you pause this? And I'm glad I didn't, because I think having that discomfort made it so much more impactful. And I keep recommending to the women in my life to watch it, because I think besides the body horror aspect of it, the story is really important for women to see. Coming in at number 7, my favorite full-on horror movie of the year was Longlegs. I think I have thought about Longlegs, the movie, every day since I saw it. Similar to like how Longlegs followed Lee, like that movie has like stuck with me, and I am so excited to watch it on January 14th, which is like when the movie takes place, or at least the climax of the movie takes place. I loved Longlegs so much. I feel like everyone who I've seen it with hasn't liked it as much as me, but I was so nervous to go see it. I almost didn't go see it, and I saw it, and I'm so glad I saw it because it was so good. I loved Longlegs so much. Coming in at number 6 is Dinner in America from 2020. This film is currently trending on TikTok. It's sort of like gotten a new audience on there. Someone had messaged me on Facebook in 2020 that was a teacher for a university course that I had guest spoke at when I was like a girl boss teenager. And she was like, you should watch this movie because the girl in it reminds me of you. And then I was like, maybe I don't want to watch this because I don't know what that means. Is that a compliment or whatever? But then I watched it and it's like, yeah, she's kind of like how I was in high school when I was first getting into like the local music scene where I live, and I'm a completely different person now with different interests and stuff. This is such a good movie. It's so good. Please watch it. It is like 90 minutes, I think, and it uses every single one of those minutes to the fullest extent. It is a beautiful movie. Please go watch Dinner in America. Coming in at number 5, we've got Renaissance, a film by Beyonce. I'm not a huge Beyonce fan, but her concert movies, like especially like her Coachella one and this one, as someone who edits a lot of videos and like loves editing stuff, her concert movies are so satisfying to my brain, like especially in the editing. Like, I think especially in this one, when she's doing the dance with Blue Ivy and, like, every couple beats or whatever, they're switching outfits, but it's, like, so perfectly, like, on beat. It scratches my brain in such a good way, especially the Coachella film when it was cutting between the 2 nights. Like, some of those cuts were so smooth, I thought they had color-changing outfits. It was so good. I loved this. I had to watch it on a cam rip on a really shady website because it hasn't come out digitally yet. So I can't wait to rewatch it when it's out officially. Coming in at number 4, this is actually similar to Twin Peaks: The Return. This is a TV show, but it is on Letterboxd, and I don't think it's getting a second season, so I am going to count it as a limited series, which is The Curse by Benny Safdie and Nathan Fielder, starring them and Emma Stone. This was so good and so much more than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be a mockumentary style show similar to like Nathan Fielder's other stuff, but it was its own sort of entity, and it was just so, I don't know if harrowing in a good way is the right word. I loved The Curse so much. My boyfriend started watching it with me a couple episodes into it, and we both were like on the edge of our fucking seats by the finale. Like, we usually like will make little comments to each other while we're watching something, but I think the finale of that, we did not fucking speak because we were so captivated by the story and the tension, and you really need to go watch The Curse. Coming in at number 3. This is a weird one because it's on Letterboxd, but people also use it to rate the whole show. It is Twin Peaks 1989. The Letterboxd listing is for the international pilot, which had an alternate ending than the original pilot episode because it was released over there as a TV movie, and then they had also done that as a backup in case the show didn't get picked up for distribution on ABC. It's such a good opening to the show and just sets the tone of what you're getting into so well. I had never really watched any David Lynch stuff before getting into Twin Peaks this year, and I'm so glad Twin Peaks was sort of my first introduction into his work, and I love Twin Peaks so much, and you should definitely watch it if you haven't. Coming in at number 2 is my favorite movie of 2024, which is Lisa Frankenstein. I have a whole video on here where I talk about all the outfits in it because I love the fashion so much. But as like a weird loner loser girl, Lisa Frankenstein spoke to me in such a beautiful way. I loved it so much. I had so much fun watching it, and it's such a good story. Catherine Newton is amazing. Even though Cole Sprouse doesn't like talk the whole movie, and I guess you don't need to talk to act, but he does so well. All of the supporting characters are so good. The soundtrack is good. It's so colorful. I loved Lisa Frankenstein so much. I think I watched it 4 times this year. I love it so much. It took over my Letterboxd top 4. It dethroned Before Sunrise, I think. And then coming in at number 1, which is also controversial because this is a TV pilot, but it's on Letterboxd, and it's the only thing I gave 5 stars that was a new watch this year, and it's got its own video on my YouTube channel. Ladies and gentlemen, my number 1 movie of 2024 that I watched for the first time is Baywatch: Panic at Malibu Pier from 1989. Genuinely, I love it so much. I'm not even being ironic. It is so good. Please watch it. It's on YouTube for free. I loved it so much. I'm on season 3 now of Baywatch, and I don't think anything will ever dethrone this as my favorite episode of the show, even though it's a TV movie. It's so good. I love Baywatch, and I love watching movies. And that was every new watch I had in 2024. 86 movies. Good year for movies. Hoping to watch a lot more in 2025. I really want to prioritize seeing more movies in theaters rather than just waiting for a camera to come out and watching them at home, or waiting for it to come out on digital and then streaming it somewhere, or watching it illegally somewhere. Let me know what your favorite movie of 2024 was down in the comments. It could be something that came out this year. It could be something you watched for the first time this year. I would love to know. Give me some recommendations, because you just heard everything I watched, so you've probably got a good idea of what my taste in movies is. So thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone has a great 2025, and I hope the movies that come out this year are super good. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.